Hi everyone. As technology increasingly intertwines with our daily lives, its reach has inevitably extended into politics. Artificial intelligence, once a thing of sci-fi, is now a very real thing that's shaping our world as we know it. But what are the implications when this technology becomes so commonplace that it not only assists, but starts to replace the very voices of our leaders? What happens when they use AI to do their work for them? What about when AI drafts the speeches and policies that define our governance? Is it just lazy? Or worse, is it dangerous? This isn't science fiction anymore. This is reality. But are we to just accept it? Well, today we're asking those very important questions in light of a particularly intriguing case that prompts us to address the potential risks. I think we can all agree that AI isn't just for tech enthusiasts anymore. Its influence has grown to reshape entire industries, and now it's even stepping into the political arena. Activity by many Republican groups in this area has been particularly concerning. For instance, the Republican National Committee crafted an AI-generated ad in response to President Biden's re-election campaign. It portrayed hypothetical scenarios like increased crime and economic collapse using entirely AI-generated images. Deepfake technology has also been weaponized by Republicans, with one example generating a video of Biden announcing he'd reintroduced the draft and would be sending Americans to fight in the Ukraine. And then there have been numerous cases where politicians have been accused of relying entirely on AI to write their speeches. So what does this mean for authenticity and transparency? When it comes to speechwriting, it's becoming increasingly clear that AI technology might not just assist, but actually supplant the actual political voice. And this is deeply concerning to me. Is it acceptable for AI to draft policies or speeches that may ultimately come to define our governance? What happens when we remove human judgment, particularly when it comes to an administration known for its controversial use of technology? Thankfully, the importance of ethical AI has been consistently highlighted by the Biden administration. According to the Journal of Democracy, elected officials are working closely with private firms to write laws concerning the use of AI and generate accountable, transparent algorithms. They wrote, the decision by 7 major generative AI firms to commit to voluntary AI safeguards in coordination with the Biden administration is a step in the right direction. But not everyone seems to be so forward-thinking, as we can clearly see by AI's continuously expanding influence in politics. Not only are political messages now crafted with the help of AI, but some believe AI could even autonomously generate political content that could influence public opinion or election outcomes. In my opinion, that's more than just lazy. That's dangerous. AI is a remarkable tool, and it's revolutionized efficiency across so many industries. However, its effectiveness is heavily dependent on the quality of the data it's trained on, which is often flawed, leading to biased, sometimes misleading, and very often flat-out wrong outputs. The technology has been shown to have the potential to produce disinformation and misinformation at scale. I guess, depending on your outlook, that could just make it a perfect fit for politics. In any case, the Journal of Democracy states in no uncertain terms that this threatens to interfere with democratic representation, undermine democratic accountability, and corrode social and political trust. The potential for AI to influence the upcoming election is deeply concerning, particularly given Trump's track record of consistent lies. So, with all that said, perhaps it's not overly surprising to see many speculate that Melania Trump's recent statement following the Pennsylvania rally was entirely AI-generated. Public statements from the former First Lady are pretty rare these days, so when she does speak out, people tend to pay attention. But here's where it gets interesting. Many noticed something was a bit off about the statement. The phrasing seemed a little awkward in places. There was lots of vague, emotional language without much specific detail, and curiously, it kept mentioning the word human over and over and over. The Daily Beast conducted an intriguing investigation into whether Melania Trump's statement was written by an AI, in which they asked straight up, was Melania Trump's statement about Donald written by AI? Several telltale giveaways were pointed out, including repetitive phrasing and lack of personal anecdotes that would lend authenticity to the statement. And there are plenty of other red flags that led many to suspect she copy and pasted this thing straight from ChatGPT. Overall, the speech just had an unusual structure and choice of words that seemed more aligned with an AI's pattern of speech than that of a human. This led the Daily Beast to turn to ChatGPT itself to confirm their suspicions by feeding it the full text and asking the program to assess the likelihood it was generated by AI. And here's what it had to say. There are several elements in the letter that indicate it was written by a large language model like ChatGPT or similar piece of hardware. Here are some potential clues. Repetitive and redundant phrases. Phrases like, "I am thinking of you, my fellow Americans," are repeated, which can sometimes be characteristic of language models that overuse certain phrases to create emphasis or structure. Lack of specificity. The letter has a generalized tone without many specific details or personal anecdotes that a human writer might include to make the message more personal and impactful. Overly formal and polished language. The language is quite formal and polished throughout, which can be a hallmark of text generated by language models that tend to err on the side of formal writing. Emotional yet vague statements. The letter uses a lot of emotional language and sentiments like love, compassion, and empathy, but does so in a somewhat generic way that lacks the nuance and complexity often found in human writing. Mixed metaphors and clichés. The letter uses several mixed metaphors and clichés, such as "the fabric of our gentle nation is tattered" and "dawn is here again." This can be a sign of language models that pull from a wide variety of sources to create text, sometimes resulting in a mishmash of familiar phrases. Emphasis on unity and love. While the emphasis on unity and love is a common theme in political speeches, the way it's expressed here is quite broad and idealistic, which can sometimes be characteristic of language models attempting to cover all bases in a positive manner. So, in my opinion, I think it's pretty obvious. This speech has all the hallmarks of AI-generated content. But to be fair to Melania, even if it appears likely it was AI-generated, we can't confirm that with absolute certainty. I mean, this is all assuming she knows how to use AI and even generated the speech herself. It's quite possible some overworked person on her team simply plugged it into ChatGPT for her. Or perhaps she's just naturally robotic. What do you think? Well, here's the speech so you can decide for yourself. "I am thinking of you now, my fellow Americans. We have always been a unique union. America, the fabric of our gentle nation, is tattered. But our courage and common sense must ascend and bring us back together as one. When I watched that violent bullet strike my husband, Donald, I realized my life and Barron's life were on the brink of a devastating change. I am grateful to the brave Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials who risked their own lives to protect my husband. To the families of the innocent victims who are now suffering from this heinous act, I humbly offer my sincerest sympathy. Your need to summon your inner strength for such a terrible reason saddens me. A monster who recognized my husband as an inhuman political machine attempted to wring out Donald's passion, his laughter, ingenuity, love of music, and inspiration. The core facets of my husband's life, his human side, were buried below the political machine. Donald, the generous and caring man who I have been through the best of times and the worst of times. Let us not forget that differing opinions, policy, and political games are inferior to love. Our personal, structural, and life commitment, until death, is at serious risk. Political concepts are simple when compared to us human beings. We are humans, and fundamentally, instinctively, we want to help one another. American politics are only one vehicle that can uplift our communities. Love, compassion, kindness, and empathy are necessities. And let us remember that when the time comes to look beyond the left and the right, beyond the red and the blue, we all come from families with the passion to fight for a better life together, while we are here in this earthly realm. Dawn is here again. Let us reunite, now, this morning, ascend above the hate, the vitriol, the simple-minded ideas that ignite violence. We all want a world where respect is paramount, family is first, and love transcends. We can realize this world again. Each of us must demand to get it back. We must insist that respect fills the cornerstone of our relationships again. I am thinking of you, my fellow Americans. The winds of change have arrived. For those of you who cry in support, I thank you. I commend those of you who have reached out beyond the political divide. Thank you for remembering that every single politician is a man or a woman with a loving family. Okay, so there you go. The Daily Beast went on to ask, if AI was used, why? Was it to help overcome a language barrier, to quickly produce a polished statement in a time of crisis? Or could there have been other motivations at play? Ultimately, this case with Melania's statement, whether or not it actually involved AI, clearly points to the importance of having a leadership that treats the development and reliance on AI as seriously as it should be treated. Biden's administration has thankfully been proactive, pushing for regulation to mitigate the potential threats of unchecked AI. With these measures, I believe AI can absolutely be a force for good in our society. It has the potential to solve complex problems, improve efficiency, and even save lives in fields like healthcare. On the other hand, we have Trump and the Republicans, whose profit above all else stance could leave AI untethered. This approach means replacing real human workers and even entire industries, all to line the pockets of a small number of wealthy individuals at the top, creating an even bigger divide between rich and poor. The choice is clear. Do we want careful, thoughtful regulation that harnesses the power of AI for the benefit of everyone? Or do we risk letting it run wild, potentially exacerbating inequality and disrupting our economy? As comically bad as Melania's speech was, I believe the use of AI in politics sets a worrying precedent. So what's your take? Firstly, do you think the speech was a work of AI, and do you think it represents an issue if so? And do you believe there's even a space at all for AI in politics? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this discussion going.